Hey, good afternoon, everybody on Facebook, Jelly Juicers. One and all, step right up. Come listen to the latest and greatest information on how to explain the two worlds that we are merging together. The new world of the Jelly Juice world and trying to adapt to the old world. So the Jelly Juice world is the as above world, and the old world is the so below world. The so below world. That's the world where the outcome is death and reproduction at the macro level. Okay, the micro level, you really don't know what goes on too much until it hits that algorithm to where you feel it on the macro level. Okay? And so, what is inertia? Inertia is when things are going in a straight line with a specific outcome, intention, purpose. So, you can have different changes along that straight line of inertia. And you can have two intersecting points that might be able to speak to each other at some point. But those two intersecting points are still going in a specific direction. Or let me show another thing. How would I show it? Oh my god, I wish I had a string. Or a jump rope. Well, here we go. You could have two intersecting points. Okay? So, would this be a good example? Not really. Because this could be considered as four people, so I would say I need a string, but I don't have a string. I might need a yarn, but that's okay. I'll find a different way to explain it. But you could have, these are two strings, and they intersect, and how, yeah. Dude, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll find a prop, an appropriate prop that you can see on Facebook. That's not going to be confusing. But you have two different lives, okay? Two people, and both will have an inertia of either going on a life trajectory or a death trajectory. And so inertia in the so below world is deadly. So you might have a few little, what would be superficial changes in the so below world to make you think that you are heading into the as above world, but you're not, because the chemistry is still aligned with the so below world. The outcome will always be death. The belief system will always be death. The outcome will always be death. And you'll be applying chemistry and occultic type of rituals to the body that will end up in death at some point at the macro level. Because you really will not understand what's going on at the micro level until it hits the macro level. And that's when you are exhibiting symptoms of cancer, disease, chronic illness, whatever. Okay? So when you're in the as above world like I am, I could do almost anything that would, and feel anything that a person in the so below world would feel like, but the outcome will always be life. But how would you know this? Because you would have already dealt with all of your issues, and you would know, because you would know personally. A person looking at me, at my lifestyle, what I'm doing, if they didn't know Jelly Juice was my background, if they didn't know I had Jelly Juice as a background, they would think I'm in the so below world experiencing a death process. Okay? And so, Sugar, oh my gosh, my dog. Hold on. Sugar, come on, up, go, up, lay down. And so, yeah, someone looking at me, if they didn't know my background, if they didn't know anything about me, and they just were looking at me and looking at what I was doing and my lifestyle, and they had no verbiage, no background, they would apply their projection of their biochemistry and their belief systems and say, okay, she's in the so below world doing the so below stuff. But little do they know that I actually have a biochemistry that is vastly different from theirs, And I've dealt with all of my issues, of which they have not dealt with any of their issues, really. And so they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know anything about me. So anything that they would say to me, as far as their diagnosis, their production, or their characterization of my lifestyle, would be actually irrelevant. And it wouldn't even be appropriate to apply to me, because I'm on the inertia in the as above world on a life trajectory trending upward. So that's kind of now, that's going to be the premise of my new book. It's not going to be so much the surface microantigen of the beast, because that's a very small component that is still demonizing part of the body's processes, because you do need a certain amount of antibodies, but you don't need an imbalance of them. But what we're experiencing right now is the occultic world using the antibodies in the so below world to anesthetize and give people that superficial peace that they're looking for, because they don't want to feel pain, they don't want to feel their evolution. And so the only way that they can give a person that perception of peace is to anesthetize, is to take out, scoop out, is to do a bunch of things. Okay? So the so below world is under the impression that they are living an amazing life, when in actuality they're just living out somebody else's intentions, somebody else's programming, somebody else's intentions, somebody else's purpose. Because you're being fed a purpose when you go to school, when your parents are teaching you stuff because they've been told a purpose, and so they're passing down the same purpose to their kids. Okay, so the as above world, we really don't know what the purpose is going to be. Our purpose right now is to stay alive, be alive, show that we can reverse all of our issues without using the so below world's occultic antibiotic practices of anesthetization, of suppressing evolution, of trying to create peace through death at the micro level and the macro level. Because peace comes with balance. Balance comes with peace. But yes, if you are at war with something on a continuous basis, then when a person dies, they are bringing balance back to earth, because now they're not at war influencing somebody else. Right? So that's kind of like the death piece at the macro level, is when you eradicate that thing that is causing chaos within an environment, within their community, within their universe. And so Mother Nature has a balance, is to take away those that are causing chaos, causing imbalances. And so yes, so man also too, when man sees that something is chaotic, he's going to try to eradicate it. So that's his way of keeping balance. But if you don't understand how to keep the balance within your own personal body, mind, and spirit, somebody else will, and they'll just eradicate the imbalance. But if you know how to promote balance within your body, mind, and spirit, you can create death and reproduction at the micro level, but yet still keep the macro level body intact and at peace. Your chaos, your whatever it is, which would be very almost non-existent, not even influential, would not even be, like I said, influencing the environment. When your body is that balanced, your battle of death and reproduction wouldn't be known outside of your own body, mind, and spirit. Like, yeah, I get influenced a lot by different people, and by situations, by things, but I don't allow that now really to influence your situation. Like I said, if you don't say anything at all, you don't react, no one else will react to what you're saying or what you're doing. No one else will have a judgment call. No one else will have anything. And so that's when you know you're at peace, is when you don't have to, when your battles are not being known to the world. But it also is not destroying you either, because just keeping it inside and not letting it out, or talking to somebody if you have that issue, if you can't do it yourself. I'm not saying that at all, to not do that. But when someone's at peace, they're not suppressing, they're not stuffing their feelings, and they're not also overtly just throwing up on the world, causing the world to react in terms, and that's where all the wars come from, is that one person does something, another person reacts, and then it's a back and forth, back and forth. I mean, watch the politics. Watch your friends and family shoot their mouth off about something political, and then someone else is going to have a reaction to it or whatever, and there it goes. The train has left the station. You can't really take back what you said. You can't really take back what you're doing. You have now let out that energy, of which now somebody's going to have to resolve that energy in some way, shape, or form. Whether someone will take that and just throw it away and the energy stops with them, or someone else is going to carry on that energy, on that inertia, unchanging. And so, yeah, we do have the opportunity to stop a trajectory and redirect the energy, or we can continue with that trajectory, of which, yes, you can see on someone's Facebook where they say one thing, someone says another, and then another, and then another, and it's the same, and it's like cells building on each other. It's like, wars that are building upon each other, compounding, and then all of a sudden people are acting out what they're feeling on Facebook, or acting out what they're feeling from what they watch in the news, and then their feelings and their reactions become something in real life. And that's why Facebook does what they do. That's why they censor. That's why they mitigate specific topics and terms and things, because they know that imbalanced people are going to take it the wrong way. And so we want inertia to be on the as above, because that's a life promotion that doesn't have a reaction that's so influential that's going to cause people to have chaos. So that's what I'm finding out, is that when you are in an as above state of mind, the way in which you communicate is not going to cause chaos in someone else's world. Now, people are going to take my information that's imbalanced, in my opinion, and they're going to think that it's going to cause them chaos. But that's why I choose to block and delete those that are responding to me. But if they have a feeling of chaos within them, then that's a choice based upon their biochemistry. So if anything causes you chaos, regardless of what side of the aisle you believe in, whether it's as above or below, if you feel that there is chaos, you have the choice to block what is conflicting with your belief system, your biochemistry. And that is the power that most people don't know how to exercise. The power to block, delete, ignore, move on, in whatever manner. I mean, if you choose that's okay to die and it's a so below world, then that's fine. My information is not going to affect you. It should never affect you. But those that are conflicted by anyone's information and has to go and refute, dispute, impose, whatever, then they are causing the wars out there. The war can stop with you at any time. But that's the thing, is that most people are bred to react. They're bred to look at the answer, and the enemy is out there. They never really are taught to look within. They're looking for the wizard out there. You know who the wizard is? It's a biochemistry. John wrote something today on his Facebook. He wants to know who the wizard is. And I said the wizard is a biochemistry. He said, I want to meet the wizard. The wizard is a biochemistry. If you want to know who the wizard is, you got to create the wizard through the way in which you relate to the world. Because, yeah, you can't stop biochemistries from manifesting what they're bred to be manifesting. And so you have the power to eradicate by not responding to their manifestations, of which you're not going to build that inertia. You're actually stopping that which could be continuous. See, inertia doesn't mean that you just don't move. That's one context that people use inertia, like in a sentence. Oh yeah, he's inert. His inertia is really just not very flattering. Okay, yeah, in that little tiny microcosm context of somebody not working or not moving or not taking control of their life, you can call them inert. You can call their inertia just not very flattering or not very, motivating. Okay, fine. That's in that context, but it still is connected to the bigger picture. The bigger picture is when the ultimate outcome is death, then the inertia of not changing your biochemistry to be on a life projecting biochemistry, that's also an inertia. You you can get distracted. You are the wizard now. Huh? Yes, right, John. You can get distracted by the superficial changes to your biochemistry because somebody created another name for the same drug and you think it's different, but it's the same elements, the same intention. Oh, but you've made some changes, and now yeah, you see some changes in your biochemistry, but the end result is still that you're going to die. So that's where the deception is that in the so below world, you can say, well, there's no inertia in the so below world. Oh yeah, there is. The inertia of unchanging your belief system to now put you on a life trajectory with the right chemistry following behind. Okay? And so, yes, so John is a wizard in his biochemistry, of which is infecting his significant other and his kids and everyone around him. And people are going to be exposed to his information and they will make a choice. And me too, you know. I am the wizard of my biochemistry. You know, I know exactly what people perceive me as, and if they didn't know who I was and they watch that I'm eating every kind of food possible, I smoke a few cigarettes here and there. I'm not drinking. I drink coffee. I eat whatever. I have absolutely no discrimination in my food intake, but it is moderation, so I don't eat a lot. But whatever food I eat, you know, it's stuff to be like, oh my gosh, she's eating, you know, the fluff, you know, pineapple fluff, which I think I took this pineapple fluff to a barbecue. I think maybe one person had a little bite of it because yeah, when people are imbalanced in their biochemistry, they can't handle that amount of minerals. It will put them over the edge, or they may have lactose issues, right? Because they can't process, or they have too much of an imbalance in their bacteria, and their body is not also breaking things down correctly and releasing, you know, at an expeditious level. So yeah, the food in their belly that's not being digested and not being released, it's gathering more bacteria, causing imbalances, and the body wants to release it in an expeditious way, like diarrhea, right? That's what they call lactose intolerance. And so yeah, so not many people can eat what I can eat because my body is that on point. So yeah, I mean, so people are looking at me like, oh my gosh, she's so unhealthy. She did this. Oh god damn, you know, if I could eat anything I want, I could smoke a cigarette, I could eat whatever I want, I could do this, and absolutely have no fear and no adverse reactions and no repercussions. I'm the healthiest person, and a person who is avoiding everything and playing the discrimination game and putting a judgment call on a food or a drink or, you know, a particular thing that I'm doing. And it's such an interesting way. It's such an interesting way to relate to the world now, because now I can enjoy my life without feeling fear of doing anything within, you know, moderation and within whatever's FDA approved. Okay, and so that's freedom. See, this is what I wrote. I'm like, I have this little note here on chapter 7, right? So, this is chapter 7. I gotta put somewhere like freedom in my chapter 7. These little notes I write to myself, and I have these every you know, different places, right, to remind me of what I got to talk about, how I'm going to explain it. I haven't really fully gleaned out how I'm going to talk about freedom, but that is freedom. When you don't have to discriminate against food, you don't have a judgment call on cigarettes or even alcohol, because I probably could drink an alcohol, but I really don't really want to. I have no real reason to drink alcohol. Now, if I'm in a situation like someone invites me to a bar, or I have an intention just to get messed up if I can. But I wouldn't want to drink with other people who don't have the same tolerance that I do, because I would kill them. Not literally, but the amount of alcohol I could probably drink, I would bring somebody under the table and they would try to keep up with me and they wouldn't be able to. They would get alcohol poisoning and I'd be like, dude, what's up? You know? So yeah, I don't really have that kind of desire to do that, though I could do it. So anyway, so it's just like, you know, that's freedom. Freedom is where you're able to live in the as above world, doing the things that the so below people do, but have to kind of watch, and they're scared, and they're like, and there's a pejorative, or, you know, connotation around, you know, smoking and drinking and eating all the foods that you want, and with no discrimination. It's like, that's freedom. So this thing about this whole theory of freedom of movement and going to the bars or going out after 10 and having to wear a mask and and they're like, oh yeah, the biggest bacterial infections come from wearing a mask. Well, I guess if you can't release the excess bacteria that may congregate if you wear a mask all day, I wouldn't want to wear a mask all day, but could I physically wear a mask all day? I probably could because I'm on the J juice. Any type of conglomeration of whatever, because I'm wearing a mask, would be released through my different excretory systems. My body is so well balanced, it could adapt to wearing a mask. Like it could adapt to, yes, I'm not dropping seeds, but I could do the act of whatever. Not that I really, really want to, but my husband could have what he wants, so to speak, a little bit without me having any kind of, so I can train my body to be whatever it needs to be for that specific lifestyle. That's what's amazing about the human body. That's what's amazing about being on the J juice, about programming humans, is that you can program yourself to fit in whatever situation without it working against you. See, that's what I'm finding out and I'm learning, and it's interesting. And I'm saying, honey, I guess I'm not menopausal because obviously I could do this act, and it's interesting. All the chemistry is there. All the things are working correctly without going into too much detail. But I definitely have gone through a very interesting transition this last month. September, October has been a very interesting transition for me as far as the old world into the new world, as far as the IDEOLOGIES, the as above versus the so below. The so below world, man, it's like it's hit or miss, and it's full of discrimination, it's full of hatred, it's full of miscommunication, it's full of biochemical fluctuations, it's full of just crap. It's full of wars, it's full of just that's hell. When you are on a death trajectory on this earth in a so below world where you have to play the discrimination game and your body is breaking down and you're trying to fit into a specific thing, that's hell. But when you get to the as above world, when you finally reach that pinnacle of what the ultimate, what life is, which is your ability to program your own body to fit within a lifestyle, a microbiome, and you have no fear of any adverse reactions, that's freaking freedom. That's freedom. That's how I would characterize freedom. But somebody else in the so below world that's so used to wanting to go and just self-destruct at their own whim now can't go and self-destruct. So they can't go to the bars every freaking night and drink past 10. No, they can't go and walk around without having to wear a mask, and they're like, oh my god, my freedom. They can't go through different places without a checkpoint or a vaccine. I mean, to them, that's not free. To them, that's a hamper on their freedoms. And I'm like, dude, if you can control your biochemistry to where you won't have an adverse reaction and have something work against you that someone else is imposing upon you, because you live in a world full of people, you can't stop the community in the world to be a certain way. But the freedom is being able to adapt to whatever conditions so as long as you're in an atmosphere that can handle biodiversity, okay? As long as you can be in an atmosphere that can handle biodiversity, you'll adapt. That's the power of the J juice, is your body's ability to adapt. You can program it. I mean, and I knew I could program my body. I knew I could program my mind to pass a test. But I'll tell you what, when I took the license exam, the insurance license exam in California, and I wasn't on the J juice. Okay, this is back in 2008, right? I really had to program my body, mind, and spirit for 1 week to live and breathe and poop and eat insurance concepts. 1 week. And it was all short-term memory. All short-term memory. And I would take these questions, these mock questions from a study source, and I would go and I would just memorize. It was just straight memorization. But it was a program, a short-term programming. Okay? No different than when you put a short-term temporary picture on your Facebook profile picture, and then it reverts back to what it was before. That's what I did. I programmed my body, mind, and spirit to understand and get insurance concepts for the test. And yes, I passed the test. Did the same thing here in Ohio. I just studied and crammed for both the property and casualty and life and health, and just took, and that's where I program my dog to go out every 2 hours, because every 2 hours she's like watching me going like, why are you just looking at this computer screen, for 2 hours? And so she would get me moving and get me out of the house every 2 hours for about 15 minutes. I go back in and study again, because she's just like, what the hell, you know. So now to this day, she still goes out every 2 hours if I'm sitting on my computer, because she's like, you got to get off your desk, stop it. Especially when she knows I'm sitting on the computer, whether I'm working on my book or studying for an insurance exam. So I know I can program my body, mind, and spirit to fit within whatever microbiome. It's repetition, it's intention, it's understanding the chemistry, the biochemistry. And I wasn't doing biochemistry or chemistry, but I was definitely doing things to make sure that my body remembered those concepts. And then I would set the date for the test, and then I would talk to nobody. It would just be, don't bug me, don't interrupt me, and then I would go and I would be in the zone, and I would take the test, and I passed it. And I'm telling you, not everything that's on these mock questions that you get from these study sources are actually on the test. And the test is different versions too. They have different versions all the time. So you can look on Google and be like, hey, what are the type of questions they ask on the test? But it's different all the time. So you just got to know this stuff. You just got to know the concepts, and it can just be applied in different contexts. But it's the concepts that you have to understand. And memorizing. It's straight freaking memorization, because they don't usually use all these things that you're learning on the insurance exam in the real world. Now you're just learning how to sell people. They don't really care about the intricacies unless you're an insurance adjuster trying to determine, what would somebody get. So anyways, I just want you guys to know that you can program your body, mind, and spirit in the as above world to adapt to whatever. And that's what the beauty of being a human is that no one else, that you have the power of reasoning to program your own body based upon your own intentions. But when you are in the so below world and you're kind of like human cattle, again, John, I got to thank you for that term, someone else is going to program a purpose for you. And they will tell you when to live and what to do and how to do it, and then when to die. And that is the example of a slave. So those of you that are like, oh yeah, you're a slave, and you still believe in death, well, no matter what you do, well, no matter who's in office, whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever, whether it's communism or socialism or capitalism, if you still believe that you should die, you will be a slave. You'll be a slave no matter what. So really, the free people are the ones that can control and program their own body, mind, and spirit and adapt to whatever situation. They have the freedom of adaptation. Now that's freedom. That is freedom. But those that are a slave to somebody else's intentions and programming, it doesn't matter who's in office, it doesn't matter if they take your guns or not take your guns. That's all superficial bullshit. But if you can program your own body, mind, and spirit to adapt, because no matter what, even if you have a gun, if someone's intention is to kill you, they'll kill you. But that's like a whole freaking conspiracy fear based upon the puppeteers, which I'm going to take from the cabin in the woods, okay? Programming those fears into you. Programming all the different arguments and all the different controversies that you are now spouting off all over Facebook. They have programmed that into you to give you a reason to play the duality, to play the imbalance game. And that's how they program you, because once you react, you are actually taking to the programming. Your reaction is their confirmation that you are taking to the programming. That's how amazing J-Juice is. You finally wake up and you are finally free from somebody else's intentions. All right. Happy Saturday. Bye.